since your schedule, Bret, your and Amy's schedule is busier than former President Eisenhower. Take us into the mindset. What is a day? What is the average day for Bret and Amy from when you wake up to the time you go to sleep?
That's tough. Well, first of all, my 6-year-old gets up at 5:30 every morning. I don't understand. I don't get it. It's like, why does this happen to me? Why? So we're up.
Okay.
I usually do a couple of radio interviews in the morning. I spend my time with the kids at breakfast. We talk about the night before, the day before. They go to school. I usually, hopefully, get a workout in, although that's been tough. It needs to happen more often. And then I head into the office. We have a morning meeting at 10 a.m. I meet with my staff at 10:30. We talk about the show, which changes 5, 6, 7 times before the actual show goes off. And then I'm talking to people throughout the day. We write scripts. I do the show live from 6 to 7. I have a postmortem with my staff, and I answer tweets and emails and Facebook messages for about a half an hour. And then if I'm lucky, I get home at about 8:15, and I put Paul to bed.
What happened to the social time with Amy?
Yeah, well, we're working on that. But vacations are fantastic, and the first book and the experiences with Paul show us that those moments matter. And so you value those moments when you hug your kid a little bit more every time. She has been gracious to be a rock for me and enabled me to write this book and do all that we did. I should point out that it's been a pleasure to work with William Morrow, and Peter Hubbard's been fantastic as far as an editor, and they're just spectacular. I recommend if you're ever writing a book, you go this way. And when the movie comes out, I think it's going to be really good. Who's going to play Peter?
Bret, so we haven't covered everything yet. So we got the movie.
Yeah.
What about the next book? Peter, you got to let the genie out of the bottle. What president? Wait, listen. You're a Pentagon person. You're a White House person. Who's the next president?
We're working on it. We're going to think about it. But I think that
when this goes to number 1, will you
yeah.
finally let
there will be some. We'll have an idea in the hopper. But I bet you it'll be 3 days and something. Because I like that formulation of looking at a moment and then jumping to a bigger message. I want to leave you with this because this is great. This is Bob Kiev. By the way, we have an hour documentary that airs Sunday the 15th on Fox News Channel, 8 p.m. and 11 p.m., called 3 Days in January. And we've been working on it for 7 months. It tracks with, obviously, the book. But I managed to interview personally a number of people who were in the Eisenhower administration.
Amazing.
One of them actually, unfortunately, died just after I talked to him, but came out of his shoes.
Who is that?
This guy was a security officer for Eisenhower that talked about his time in the Army and out in California. But this guy I talked to as well, Bob Kiev, who was a speechwriter, and he gave me this. So remember that these speeches are written. Eisenhower took a lot of pain to get into the words and the editing and every single detail. So speechwriters, they would come back and they'd say that the marks on the page looked like a dozen chickens with dirty feet, because they had scribbles in them. And when I went to the library, one of the best moments was when they took out the actual speech, the actual farewell address, and I had gloves on, and they gave it to me, and there were the scribbles of Eisenhower on underlining and changing words in the final transcript. Okay, so this is Bob Kiev, and he has a note from Ann Whitman, which is the secretary I referenced earlier about the squirrels. She had to retype all the speeches because there wasn't a computer. They couldn't erase. She had to retype all the drafts. Well, there were 1 million drafts. So she was trying to prevent more drafts. So she writes, first, do not use the word merit as a verb. Use it only as a noun. Second, never use the pronoun I at the beginning of 2 consecutive paragraphs. Third, this morning, this note says, a mild grumble from the boss on your using 2 adjectives. Warm best wishes. You can either make the wishes warm or you can make them best. You cannot make them warm best. Fourth, never take it for granted that the president knows something about a national or local organization. Say, I'm happy to learn, or I understand that. Fifth, the construction not only but also is fine, Bob, but please, Bob, not in every message. Bob said he never used it again. Sixth, one day she calls. She says, look, Bob, every time you use the word appreciation, you follow it with the word for. Haven't you noticed that the boss consistently changes it to read appreciation of? So please, for my sake, please, Bob, for God's sake, when you use the word appreciation, never follow it with for. Always follow it with of. So he goes on to finish, and Bob Kiev leaves the White House, and he gets this signed picture from Eisenhower, and it says, to Robert S. Kiev, with best wishes, with lasting appreciation of valuable service in the White House. It's that kind of nugget that I just love.